performers. Their approach to public protest was so fresh and transgressive that a movement about death felt vibrantly alive. The die-ins, the slogan "Silence equals death," the reappropriation of the pink triangle, a remnant from the Nazi-era branding of the gay men and women sent to the concentration camps. It was new and modern, and the combination of activist methods and creative coalitions reinvented the landscape of modern protest. At first, it really was exhilarating. There I was, sitting on the floor of Seattle's Capitol Hill Community Center, among men and women, gay and straight, artists and laypeople, helping plan the elaborately staged interventions that the organization was known for. As the weeks went by, however, it began to feel like there was more time spent planning than doing, more rhetoric than exuberant creativity. I began to feel frustrated with spray painting signs in Seattle basements and gathering in small group demonstrations that were frankly easy to ignore. Had my timing been different, a few years earlier and a couple thousand miles eastward, I may have witnessed something different. The truth was, joining the Seattle chapter of ACT UP had put me in the very outer rings of the burning center. But the deeper and sadder truth was that even that central fire seemed to be flickering and fading. The creative center of artists, writers, performers, and advertising people was literally dying out, hit hard by late-stage HIV. I was in the cold, rainy Seattle streets, surrounded not by creative warmth, but by cold anger and a community now mostly defined by their mourning. But that was the beginning of the journey for me. I was chasing something. I could see the way art and social change could merge, how hard conversations could become more provocative and more positive through the introduction of creative practice. At the same time, I was watching political conversations on a national and global scale begin to falter and fail. I was trying to balance what seemed an emerging cynicism in the world with the more hopeful practices I believed possible. A year later, I returned to school and shifted my study from politics — I'd once planned to spend a semester working with guerrilla soldiers in Zimbabwe — to art and art history. While the medium was different, the underlying current of what I was engaged with was the same. I chose to study the long history of artists who had made social change through their work. I was looking for places where art and activism blended together. My timing couldn't have been better. The work of ACT UP and the political moment were giving rise to artists who were integrating art and politics in all new ways. In school, I did my thesis work on Barbara Kruger. Her iconic poster for the pro-choice movement, "Your Body is a Battleground," was known to all, and she was not alone. After I graduated, I began working with artist activists like Yolanda Lopez and the art collective, Border Arts Workshop, who did politically charged work about immigration in California. Mary Kelly, who became notorious for documenting every aspect of her child's first year of life and attracted outsized anger from the mostly male world of art critics. James Luna, a Native American performance artist who put his naked body on display in glass cases in the anthropological wings of museums like the Met. And HIV-positive performance artist Tim Miller, who was known for the confrontationally sexual content of his work. Their art was courageous, clever, witty, and beautiful, but also capable of inspiring, bold change. It was encouraging new forms of conversation in the world. This political moment in the art world coincided with the emergence of new technologies like CD-ROMs. Yes, really. And the first skeletal structures of the internet. It was an oddly utopian moment. In fact, the first book I co-edited, Clicking In: Hot Links to a Digital Culture, was a collection of exuberant essays by artists celebrating the way new technologies would liberate our identities. Ironically, many of the artists and philosophers in that book, most notably Jaron Lanier, have since embraced a dystopian view of the technologies they once boosted. Later, in the 1990s, the art market exploded and political art was largely sidelined. But I was still looking for a way to merge creation, social change, and dialogue. Soon, I discovered the architect Christopher Alexander, who had pioneered a method that allowed communities, towns, and neighbors to design their homes and civic buildings alongside of him. Today, we would call it co-design. At its essence, it was a way of having a collective conversation and using that conversation to design solutions for that community. To me, it seemed like an evolution of the work I've been doing, but one that moved from a creative political dialogue.